this is almost kind of a classic business cycle recovery. You have a pop in production, GDP, which we had earlier on for the last 3 quarters now, and then jobs follow afterwards as businesses become convinced that it wasn't a flash in the pan, that consumers are actually buying things, and it starts to feed on itself. So here we have in 2010 4 months in a row of positive jobs growth, both on payrolls and on the household survey, which includes some smaller businesses. And that is great news. It's showing that it's not a flash in the pan, that this is a resilient recovery, that it's spreading to different sectors and regions of the country. And that's the hallmark of a recovery. It means that it's not going to disappear anytime soon. And it means that we're not terribly vulnerable to unexpected events, like shocks to the system. And that's an important thing to understand, that the ability of a surprise negative shock to derail an economy is not a constant. It goes up and down. And so if the economy is in a downturn or decelerating, then a negative shock can really do a lot of damage. On the other hand, if the economy is accelerating, it's in a recovery in the early stages, which we very much are now in 2010, then you could take a pretty big shock and it won't turn the economy around. The economy will keep on growing because the business cycle is actually bigger than any of these shocks. So we do have a positive business cycle. It's going in the right direction. We're getting hit by these shocks. So what becomes very important is, what are leading indicators saying? Forward-looking indicators. Are they showing the business cycle at risk anytime soon? When we look in the U.S., while we have some slowing ahead, there's absolutely no sign of any new recession or downturn. So that's very good news. It means that the contagion, as it were, if it does begin to kind of take shape around the world, is unlikely to derail the U.S. Then we take a look at Europe, and Europe is more vulnerable, much more vulnerable than the U.S., but it does seem to be reasonably contained to southern Europe. When we look at the big leading indicators for Germany and France, which are really the backbone of the European economy, they too seem to be in a fairly good position. They're not going to be derailed as bad as it is in southern Europe. We have seasonality. There's some summer hiring and whatnot that'll be going on. There's also this added once-a-decade event of doing the national census that is making things a little bit better on the jobs front. However, underneath it all is simply the business cycle recovery. That's the key driver here. Seasonality or census could not do this on its own. So there's much more going on. And again, we need to look at leading indicators of jobs growth. And when we do, we see that they're actually quite strong, meaning that the best jobs growth is still in front of us. It's not behind us. So in the coming months, I'm not sure exactly which month, but the trend will be towards stronger job creation as the year progresses. And that's very, very good news.